We are back. Lucas Oil Pro Motocross had a couple of weekends off. Jason Weigandt and Ashley Reynard here to preview the return of the series stretch run. 5 races to determine championships in Pro Motocross 450 and 250. And we go to the legendary Unadilla, which is one of the longest running events in this championship and really one of the longest running motocross events of all. It started racing here in the late 60s, which actually predates this championship. All the top riders have raced here. But the funny thing is, it's a love or hate experience. We have tracks like Redbud that everybody says is great. Unadilla, you either have it or you probably heard the stories, so it makes it interesting. There are Unadilla masters and Unadilla haters. You probably heard some stories yourself along those lines.
I really have, and especially with my husband, Robbie Reynard. He really performed well at Unadilla, and there's that famous one in 1998 where he passed Carmichael, and it was just a good battle. So I enjoy watching this track. I've never actually personally been there, even when Robbie was racing, just because the travel, and then you have to drive so far to get to the track. So I always stayed home during that time. But I'm excited to go and see it in person and have some good memories this year.
Yeah, it's really unique. It's and very slippery. That's actually what's changed over the years. The traction used to be great back in the old days. But as I say in motocross, anytime someone leaves the track with dirt on the bottom of their bike, that ends up in their driveway and not on the racetrack anymore. So now it's very fast and slippery. Some riders really excel in that. Some riders do not. And that's what leads to one of the more intriguing rounds of the series. We don't know which riders will excel or not. A lot of times they say the European riders, Marvin Musquin, for example, has had great success at this track, was designed to mimic the old school Grand Prix races in Europe. So we'll see if that lends its hand to riders that have European experience like Musquin, Dylan Ferrandis, maybe the Lawrence brothers in the 250 class. We'll have to see. Now, you and I were lucky. We actually got to talk to some of the team managers for squads and titles this year. Earlier in the week, we talked to 2 members of the Star Racing Yamaha team because they run a 450 and 250 class. So thanks to Jeremy Coker and Seth Rarick for that. And then we talked to Eric Kehoe, who's a team manager for Honda. Here's what I learned that was very interesting. Star Racing is known for being very serious, and they are not afraid to be hard on their riders. And when we talked to Seth Rarick, who now runs the 250 program over there, he's like, yeah, Justin Cooper has left points on the table. He's been beaten by riders he shouldn't be beaten. That's not acceptable. And that's why you've seen Justin Cooper have good races, but look not happy. But we learned it firsthand. That's how Star Racing operates. If they don't get the results, they let the rider know. And as you know, Ashley, it's kind of rare. Yelling at riders is not common in this sport. I thought that was interesting to hear that.
Yeah, not so much anymore. I think maybe in the old days, it was more of a mentality to come back and really lay into the riders. But I think a lot of team managers now learn the personalities of the riders. But it was interesting to hear about Justin and why he's been disappointed, because I know a lot of fans have had feedback to him as saying, you just won an overall. Why can't you be a little bit more happy with this? But at the end of the day, the championship is the goal for them. And that's why they're the points leaders. And those points on the table, it could come down to that in the very last round.
Yeah, he got a 2-2 to win an overall at Thunder Valley, and people are like, I've never seen someone so bummed to win an overall. And he's like, but I didn't win a moto. And he did Minnesota, didn't win a moto, so he wasn't happy. They were much happier with the performance at Washougal, and that's funny. He crashed trying to win both motos, and they said they were happy with that. They'd rather trying to win the motos than just settle for third. So that's something to watch. And in the contrast, Eric Kehoe from Honda said, we have a lot of young guys. We think they run better if we look at the situation and don't jump on them that much. And they really have to remind themselves that Jet Lawrence is 17. He just turned 18, actually, but 17. And he's never been in this type of title fight before. So they are realizing they have to kind of treat that differently. I thought that was interesting, too. A different philosophy I found from Honda. Is that what you picked up?
Yeah, and with Jet Lawrence, you have to remember he hasn't raced a lot of these tracks. I mean, last year we had that abbreviated season and raced different tracks that we don't normally go to, like the Redas. So for Jet to come to these racetracks that he hasn't always been to, it's easy for him to not be able to adapt so well. So I think it's hard for us to remember because he rides so well and he looks so comfortable on the bike all the time, that he is a young kid and he hasn't raced these tracks that these guys have experience on. So I think Eric Kehoe's approaching it the right direction with Jet Lawrence. He's got a long future ahead of him. Yes, a title would be nice this year, but you have to look at the big picture, and he's learning a lot each and every week.
Yeah, it really looks like the Star Racing philosophy is you have to do your best in every race, and you have to get maximum points in every race. And on the Honda side, It's more like just do your best, and whatever your best is, we're going to be okay with that because you're still learning and you're a rookie, and we're not just going to see a fourth place finish on paper and say that's unacceptable. It could be a good fourth if you're still learning something each time. Now in the 450 class, it's a little different. Honda has not won a 450 title. This is unbelievable since the Ricky Carmichael days, and for Honda and him, that was 2004. That's right. They have not won a 450 title, Supercross or Motocross, since then. So I asked Kehoe, I'm like, do you think about that? Or is it something like, hey, it just hasn't worked out. We're doing our best. One of these together. And he said, absolutely. The answer is yes, yes, yes. We feel that pressure. Ken Roczen was second in Supercross. He was second, at least so far. I heard a sense of urgency to get one of these that I didn't know Eric Kehoe had in him. There is some pressure over there at Honda to finally get one of these darn titles.
What I found so interesting about Eric talking about that was that he said he tries to stay calm for his riders. So when he's around the riders and their environment and their racing, he doesn't let them know the urgency and the pressure that he has coming down on him. So for him to be able to keep that calm and that environment, for them to be able to focus on their racing and not have that pressure is important to him. So he has the pressure of the championship and the title, and he knows that these riders want it. They're out there racing and they're doing the best they can. As long as they're trying, he's okay with that and getting these performances and this consistency. But yes, the title would be really important for Honda, especially right now.
Yeah, it's really a contrast in the two styles where star racing is all about putting the emotions on the sleeve, and we want it bad, and we're going to tell everybody how bad we want it. And with Kehoe, I was surprised when he said that. I feel like when Honda has a great day or a bad day, the team manager, Eric Kehoe, is the same. I didn't realize that's mostly an act. Inside, he said he takes Advil during the weekend, but on the outside, you don't see it. He's trying to keep the pressure off of his guys, and to illustrate that further, Chase Sexton has had a good season. He won our last race at Washougal. He's had some good moments even before that. But Eric said, yeah, he might put his media face on at the end of the day, but there are motos where he gets a fourth or a fifth, and he is not happy at all. And they are almost trying to get him to take the pressure off and focus on the positives. They say when it comes to Sexton, they don't need to light a fire underneath him. He's angry if he doesn't finish on the podium, and they have to remind him, you're still young, you're still new. So it's pretty funny what we see post-race, especially you on the podium. You've probably experienced it behind the scenes. That's not always the way that riders actually feel.
Well, they do a good job with the media and especially coming up and addressing the fans up there on the podium, because those fans are there for the riders, and that's what's important to them. And the riders realize that that's their fan base. So they have to be able to perform on the podium as well as on the racetrack. So you might see them behind the podium just extremely disappointed, but they come up and put on their game face and say that it was a good performance. But, you know, that's what drives these riders, especially Chase Sexton. And I'm curious to see with this break and him having such a great run at Washougal, taking that overall win and the first moto win by what dreams are made of, right, in the 450 class. So if this break was motivating for him, or if he just wanted to keep on racing because he was just driven that weekend, last weekend in Washougal.
Yeah. Most riders probably were looking forward to a break, but yeah, not a guy who gets his first win of the year. He probably would have liked to have kept that going. Real quick, let's talk about the break. So you have Eli Tomac. Nobody knows what he does. He's super behind the scenes. We don't know if he went on vacation. Who knows? As far as Roczen and Ferrandis, who are right ahead of Tomac in points, it was pretty clear. I think they got some R&R in. If you look at their social media, they hopefully that allows them to be relaxed and refreshed and maybe even better. They took advantage of the time from what I could see. Yeah,
it's hard to believe that Ferrandis needed that R&R because he's been performing incredibly, and it doesn't matter where he is on the track. I know we saw a couple mistakes at Millville, but I think for him to take that time for himself and his wife, because they put everything into it. All of these riders do. So to take that time and relax a little bit, because it was 2 weekends off, you did have a little extra time, and then get right back to work. So I know both of them worked really hard, and I think Ken and Courtney and baby Griffin took a little vacation. They spent some time on the boat and just enjoyed some time for themselves. And it's a grueling season. We've got 5 in a row right now to finish it off, and we just did 4 in a row before we had that 2 weeks off.
Yeah, so here we go. That's that balance, which Eric Kehoe, the Honda manager, talked about quite a bit. It is very serious all the time. They want to win badly, but sometimes they realize that when you take that pressure off or even get away from it a little bit, it allows you to perform better. So, and to figure that dance out, and it's all going to start here at Stretch Run coming up at Unadilla this Saturday. You can check out all the motos live on Peacock with Peacock app, and also coverage on NBCSN, and Map TV also has our first moto. So check it out. It's really starting to heat up, and we're going to find out who took best advantage of the 2-week break.